Okay, so today we're gonna go through a upper body session. Okay, this will be good for you guys that are maybe training 4 times a week, maybe 5 or 6, and you're doing, you can split it up, lower body, upper body. Okay, this will be a full upper body session, push and pull. Okay, so we're gonna start off, first two exercises are gonna be flat bench press, and we're gonna do bent over row. Now, obviously you could have done your mobility before this, but you can follow along for the entire session. But obviously, we're going to start with warm-up sets. Okay, so starting with the bench press, we're just going to go through like a couple warm-up sets. You can make it more warm-up sets, you can make it less, as long as you feel ready to push for your top weight. So, I'm just going to go through 10 reps here. And then you don't have to leave much rest in between your warm-up sets because you're not really fatiguing. So you can jump straight into your second warm-up set, but we're going for bent over row. Okay. All right, and then jumping up the weight a little bit. So whatever your top weight is going to be, we're not going to go there just yet. So for me, I'm just going to throw on a couple 10s. And then going through the same process. Again, just 10 reps, but it's going to be nice and easy. The key to a good warm-up is your warm-up should actually kind of look like what your top set's going to look like. So I don't want you just rattling through the reps as fast as possible. Just take your time, all right? Make it look like it's your top set. Not sure, I'm actually central. Shuffle over a little bit. Also, if you're doing bench press by yourself, make sure you don't have your clips on. Okay, that way if you fail and it's down here, you can just like tilt the weights off and they'll just fall off of each side. Okay, then we'll do the same with our rows. Just gonna throw on a couple 10s. Now after this warm-up set, I'm gonna go into what will be a rough top set. For you guys, if you feel like you want to do more warm-ups, go for it. Just pause the video and do the rest of your warm-ups, and then you can start it again once we start going into your top sets. Okay. All right, then what I would suggest is to leave at least like 30 seconds to a minute before your top set. Just sort of let your body and your heart rate like just settle a little bit. And then you go into your top sets after. So just give yourself 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll do our first top set. Now, the one thing to note, for those of you that are a little newer to the gym, I would say with these sets, you might want to come down a little slower. On the way up, you can go down, you can go back up relatively fast, but on the way down, you might want to come down a little slower, okay? Once you're more experienced, you can actually like change that a little bit. But it's not like you're working less hard or more hard when you're coming down slower. It's just to show that you have like control over the weight and the weight's not controlling you. So whenever you're fighting gravity, I want you to be in control of that weight and not gravity. Okay, so let's go for our first top set, 10 reps. I'm gonna aim for a tempo of 2 seconds down and then 1 second up, okay? So, let's go. So, at the top, 2 seconds on the way down. 1, 2, up. 1, 2, up. 1, 2, up. Up. So that's my 10. Now, between this set and my first top set on my row, I want to leave roughly 30 seconds as a minimum, depending on your time. So we're trying to get through the session in about 45 minutes. But if you have a little bit longer, you can give yourself a little longer, but minimum would be 30 seconds. It just means the more that you rest before your next set, the higher the intensity is going to be in that set. All right. If I'm not fully recovered, all right, let's say my first set, I get 10 reps. If in the next set, I only get 8 reps, that probably shows me that I wasn't really fully recovered. Now, to fully recover might actually take you like 5 minutes, 8 minutes, and some of you don't want to train for that long and you want to get more volume in. So it's okay that if in the first set, when you're only leaving like a minute to rest, maybe 2, it's okay that it goes from 10 reps to 8 reps to 6 reps. In fact, I'd rather it do that, because if in every single set you're only resting 30 seconds to a minute, right? And you can get 10 reps in every single set, chances are what that shows me is that the first couple sets you weren't going hard enough. Maybe the last set, that 10 reps was actually hard, but the first couple sets you probably weren't working hard enough, okay? So let's go for our first set here on our bent over rows. So again, same thing on the way up, 1 second, 2 seconds on the way down. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. Okay, I actually lost count there. But we're aiming for 10 reps. For these first 2 exercises, we're going to do 3 reps of 10. If your goal is hypertrophy, I would say you want to aim, minimum would be 5, but truthfully, probably somewhere from 8 to 12, as long as you're getting close to failure. If your aim is strength though, well, we'd be resting longer and the reps might be like 5 or less, but we're going for hypertrophy today, okay? Now, if you're unsure of any of the technique of these exercises, feel free to look at some of my previous videos. I'll go through like a few tips and tricks during this, which just like when we're resting, but look at any of my other videos. There'll be advice on how to do like bench press, rows, etc. But today, because we're trying to do hypertrophy, we're not doing a powerlifting style bench press. We're actually doing a bodybuilding style bench press. So what that means is that I'm kind of being a little bit more relaxed with my feet. My feet are just like kind of planted, flat-footed. I'm not really driving through them as much. And then also I'm not going as wide with my grip. And I'm making sure that, because I want to try and work my chest, that I'm flaring my elbows a little bit more. If I tuck my elbows a lot, I'm going to be bringing in the triceps. So I'm actually just flaring my elbows a little bit more, all right? So let's go into set number 2. Same again. So chest still pushing to the ceiling, even though it's bodybuilding style bench press. It's another 10 reps. So the reason I can get 10 reps there in that set, even though I didn't rest like long enough to fully recover from the previous set, the reason I can get 10 is today I'm like not going to failure. Like this weight is relatively comfortable for 10 reps. So for you, maybe you weren't able to get 10 reps in that. Ideally, you couldn't. Ideally, your first set, maybe you got about 10 reps, maybe even 11, maybe 12, right? Just because you say you got to go for 10 reps, doesn't mean you have to stop at 10, all right? If it turns out that weight's a little light for 10 reps, go to 11 or 12. Next, and then you can either increase the weight, or you might even find the next set, because you're not resting super long in between, next set might actually get you down to about 10 reps. So, okay. So while we're resting, let me quickly go through some brief technique with the bent over rows. So it depends on what you want to work on. If you want to work on the muscles around your shoulder blades, then I would say you want to take a slightly wider grip and let the elbows flare, okay? You're trying to squeeze the shoulder blades at the top, okay? If you want to work a little bit more on the lats, then you take a narrower grip and you think elbows to like pockets, and you're trying to just drive the elbows back. It's going to work a little bit more the lats. If you want to bring in the biceps as well, then what you can do is you can do reverse grip. So your palms facing away from you and then you're rowing in, okay? But today, I'm kind of doing a middle ground of all of those. Just not a super wide grip, just outside my knees. And I'm thinking about bringing my elbows back ever so slightly, but I'm kind of like 45. So I'm getting a bit of lats, getting a bit of the muscles around the shoulder blades, like your rhomboids, your teres major, minor. So yeah, let's do this. But you can vary it depending on what your goals are. But if you're following along here, just go slightly wide of your knees and then hinging back, and then you're rowing in towards your sternum, controlling down. There we go. There's a 10. But again, same thing. If you're only leaving a minute rest, that might have gone down to like 8 reps for you. Okay, it might be a bit less. So we're just gonna do one more set on each. One more set here on bench. One more on back. But again, leaving roughly 30 seconds to a minute. Depends on how much time you have. If I'm aiming for a 45-minute session and what we're gonna go through today, I'm leaving roughly about a minute. I'm not super precise with it. You can be precise, especially when I'm training by myself. And I'm training for strength, I kind of just go when I feel like I can do that set for as many reps as possible. So I might genuinely leave like 10 minutes sometimes. That's a bit excessive. Most of the time it's more around like 5 minutes, but. Okay, so that's roughly a minute. Go into our last set here. So feet flat on the floor. And then also, when you're getting into position, try and get the bar in line with your mouth. That means that I don't really have to be out of position when I'm taking the bar off. And it just takes a little bit less energy compared to if I was like really far forwards. Okay, so bar's kind of in line with my mouth. Last set, same again. There's a 10 there. We're gonna do one more set on our bent over rows. Then after that, we're gonna go into some shoulders. So we're gonna do some seated shoulder press. And we're gonna do some face pulls. So the seated shoulder press is gonna be mainly targeting our front and side delts. And then the face pulls gonna be working our rear delts, plus a few bonus muscles around the shoulder blade. All right. Okay, so let's do this. Last set here for our rows. There's the 10. All right, so that's the first two exercises done. A little bit for the chest, a little bit for the back. So then you're gonna get into position for our shoulder press. So you can, when you're getting into position for your shoulder press with your bench, you can come up to perfectly vertical, pretty much perfectly vertical, depending on your bench. I like to go one notch down. I just find it a little bit comfier for myself. Barely any difference, not really going to be noticeable, but I wouldn't say go much lower than that, okay? But again, same thing as we did with our chest and our back. I'm only going to do one, but you can do 2, 3, however many you want to do, but we're going to start with a warm-up set, okay? So let's go for 12 and a half. So when you're getting into position for this, especially when the weights get heavy, what you're going to have to do is have the weights on the end of your knees. You're going to drive the right knee up to the right shoulder, then drive the left knee to the left shoulder, okay, and then from there, pressing above our head and ever so slightly back, coming down and forwards ever so slightly, going through that full range, okay? Again, that 2 second, maybe even 3 second control on the way down when you're fighting gravity, okay, driving back up. Okay, so that's the 10. All right. What I'm going to have to do as well is every time we go into our face pulls, I'm just going to have to change the camera angle a little bit, but let me just set it up first and then I'll make sure it's pointing in this direction. Now, hopefully you have a cable machine. If you don't, there is a rear delt exercise you can do with dumbbells, but I'm gonna assume that most people have a cable machine. So this is gonna be for my face pulls. All right, but same again, warm up set first. Like I say, I'm just doing one warm up set. You might wanna do more, but because I'm also not going crazy heavy today. So one step back, making sure that when you're fully stretched, that the weight isn't like resting at the bottom. And then thinking about keeping my elbows up, letting my shoulders roll forwards, and then bringing the rope towards my eyes, keeping my elbows up, fighting it on the way back. I'm just going through, again, 10 of these. Really let the shoulders roll forwards, then coming back towards the eyes. And try and fight it on the way back, okay? Like hold it at the back for just half a second, then show that control. Show that you're in control of that weight, okay? Again, elbows up, pulling towards the eyes, or pulling your hands like towards your ears. Okay. All right, so that's our one warm up on each. And then let's go into our main set. So gonna be going for 17 and a half on this shoulder press for 10 reps. So let's see. So I don't have to leave too much rest because the warm-up sets weren't super fatiguing. But same again, like trying to control it on the way down, 2 seconds. Again, if you're like brand new, I'd say even like aim for like 3 seconds on the way down when you're fighting gravity. On the way up, just push up almost as fast as you can. All right, but still being in control of the weight. So onto the end of the knees. When you're ready, right knee pushing up, left knee up, setting yourself on the bench, and then let's go. Driving up, controlling down. For 2 seconds, driving up. 1, 2. 1, 2. that's actually a closer weight with that tempo for me. Because obviously, the caveat to when you're having slower tempo and you're fighting gravity for longer is, I don't know if you've heard the term time under tension before, but it basically just means your muscles are working for longer. So if I'm doing 3 seconds and doing 10 reps, that's 30 seconds worth of my muscles like trying to fight gravity and working to like stop that weight from falling. Whereas if I did, let's say 1 second, and I did 10 reps, it's only 10 seconds. So as you start to like speed up the reps, you might even find you can go higher in weight. But again, it depends on what your focus is. If your focus is just hypertrophy, don't worry about the weight going crazy heavy. Just have control of it, keep that time under tension high, and make sure you have control and you're working the muscles you're intending to work. All right, so going into our set of face pulls here, taking that step back, 1 foot back, front of the other, shoulders roll forwards, pulling back, fighting for 2 seconds on the way back. Fighting it, control. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. I think that's also closer to the top weight for me for that tempo. Okay. All right. Set number 2. Shoulder press. Again, giving yourself a good minute to rest beforehand. So while we're resting, let me tell you what I want you to achieve whenever you're doing dumbbell work. So I want you to think of dumbbell work as a way to address any weaknesses that you might have if you're only doing barbell work. So for example, if I'm doing a barbell bench press, what restricts me is that bar coming across my chest and touching my chest. I can't go any lower than that, right? So when I use dumbbells, I don't want to do like this partial range where I'm not like going into as deep a stretch as possible. I want you to let the dumbbells come as low as you possibly can, as low as your mobility allows, and then driving up from there. So it's just, think of the dumbbells. Yes, it's still like you're trying to work hypertrophy and strength, but whenever you're doing dumbbell work, I would say try and think of it as a way to address any weaknesses that might be there if you're only doing barbell work. All right? That's my advice. So, and that applies to the shoulder press as well. So you notice that I'm coming down as low as I possibly can in every rep. So look at my starting position here. It's as low as I physically can get. All right, and then we're driving up from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Whew, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to manage 10 in the last set. We'll see. So the other thing I want to mention about our shoulder presses is a lot of people love to do lateral raises, which are great. I also do lateral raises, but I think people don't realize how much you work your side delt when you're doing an overhead press like this. You'll be surprised by how much it's working. So much so that you might not even need to do lateral raises to see that growth on the side delt. Like shoulder presses should just be enough. Obviously, if your goal is to get like a little bit wider and develop that side delt, then yeah, great, go do lateral raises. It just depends on what your goal is, but a lot of people think if they've done a shoulder press, they have to do lateral raises to improve their side delt. It's not true. Now, with the rear delt, however, that can often get neglected, and so that's why we do these face pulls. It just like helps balance everything out, because you don't want to have overdeveloped front delts and neglect your rear delts. So let's go into our second set here of the face pulls. Taking that step back. 1, Okay, one more set on each. One more set on each. So currently, by the time we finish these shoulders, we'll be about 30 minutes into the session. Now, if you're training for about an hour, let's say, you could probably either just rest longer between these sets that we're doing, or you could increase the amount of sets you're doing, so get a bit more volume in that way, or you can add in a couple bonus exercises at the end. The last two exercises we're going to go on to is going to be bicep curls and tricep extensions. But with it being like near the end of the session, you definitely want to like aim for an accessory movement. But you can vary this depending on what your goal is. If you want to develop a bit more of your chest or a bit more of your back, you can just throw in another press movement, maybe incline dumbbell bench, and then another row movement, which could be like, I don't know, if you did a lat dominant row for your bent over row here, you could then do the muscles around your shoulder blade, like your rhomboids, teres major, traps. You could do that focused for your row instead for the last row. It just depends on what your goal is. But these these face pulls are also going to be working those muscles around the shoulder blades, like your teres major, minor, rhomboids, so on. Yeah. All right, let's do this. Last set for the shoulders, and we're going to finish with biceps and triceps, okay? All right, so drive it up. Let's do this. Controlling down. 2. Drive it up. 2. 1, 2. Okay. Whew. Just managed 10 in that last set. Okay, so one more set on our face pulls. So this style of training, I did a lot when I was in London, working with some like high-end clients that wanted to try and achieve that like lean look. So they wanted to develop their muscle size, like increase their muscle size, and then they're also maybe following a nutrition plan. And we used to do like 12-week body transformations. But if you don't care too much about the nutrition, I'll say just make sure you have enough like protein and carbs. Like don't shy away from anything. And yeah, just as long as the weights are going up week by week here, you're doing something right. And then if you decide that you do want to like either trim down or maybe even gain weight, a lot of people sometimes struggle to gain weight. So then you can like focus on it a little bit more. But if the weights here are going up most weeks, then you're probably doing okay for your nutrition. Obviously, there's a lot of nuances to that, but without doing an entire video on it, let's just say that the main focus should be that these weights go up week to week. So last set here. Okay, there's your 10. All right, so we're going to finish with bicep curls and tricep extensions. We're going to start with bicep curls. I really like to do bicep curls seated. For an added bonus, you can use cables. I'm just going to use dumbbells today. Just bearing in mind that, yeah, dumbbells, the tension's like different at certain parts of the movement, whereas with cables, the tension's always the same. So the weight always feels the same. So That's why cables, I do like to do a lot more cable exercises than I do dumbbell exercises, just because that tension is the same throughout. Okay, so for my bicep curls as well, is I like to be leant back on this chair. The further you end up leaning back on this chair, the harder it's going to be. Okay, so just play around with it, see what works best for you. You can be like perfectly vertical. You can do them standing if you want to, but I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it. And we're not going to do any warm-up sets. We're going to go straight into it. We've already warmed up because we've done our chest and back exercise. Okay, so going straight into it, leaning back, palms facing the sky, and then driving up, controlling down. Okay, that's the 10. Now, something I want to note with these accessory exercises, now this applies to a lot of accessory exercises, basically any exercise where you're kind of isolating a particular muscle. I would suggest having a slightly higher rep range than what you could have for your compound. So with the compounds today, like our bench press and our row, compound just means you're using multiple muscle groups to lift that weight. With that, we did 10 reps a day. You could go as low as 5 reps and still be like kind of in that hypertrophy range with those compound lifts. But I wouldn't suggest to do that with your accessory exercises. I would actually suggest, especially if your goal is hypertrophy, is to aim for like 8 to 12. You can go high, you can go to 15, you can go to 20, you can go to 30, as long as you're close to failure. That's all that matters, but obviously, if 10 reps achieves the same thing as 20 reps, then we might as well just do the 10 because it saves us a bunch of time. So, okay. Then we're gonna go into overhead tricep extension. Let's do this. I prefer to do overhead tricep extension. It just changes how it feels in the tricep for me. But you can do a tricep push down as well, but we're gonna do overhead tricep extension. So, you can do this with a straight bar as well. I personally prefer to do it with ropes, but coming into this position here, all right, letting it pull me straight down, standing as close to the machine as I can, and then from here, driving straight up, okay? So from here, straight up, and controlling down, again, for those 2 seconds, okay? Now, I don't want you thinking about pulling over your head. I want you thinking about pushing straight up, maybe even slightly back. Okay, that's a touch heavy. Kind of just eyeballed the weight. I didn't even change it from my last exercise, but 8 reps is still pretty good. And then also with these accessory exercises, you probably don't actually have to leave as much rest in between them either. It's still good to if you have the time for it, but you can just leave about 30 seconds in between each set. So just gonna do that 2 more times on each of these exercises, and then that's a 45-minute session done. Again, you can do this session. If I'm training 4 times a week, let's say, I can go to the gym 4 times a week. This could be your upper body session for 2 of those days. The other 2 days, obviously, you probably want to do lower body, but for 2 of those days, yeah, this could be your upper body session. All right, pretty much hits everything you want to hit, and you can change the exercise ever so slightly depending on what your personal goals are. Okay, so let's go into our bicep curls. Okay, those 10 are getting tough. I'm gonna do the same on our triceps in about 30 seconds. But again, you can also choose to do more sets as well. And again, with any of this technique, if I haven't already, I'm going to try and upload some videos for technique of all of these exercises. Some might be a little bit more in depth. There might be some shorts that you can watch that are just like 10 seconds just to get like a general concept. But I could talk about for like 30 minutes about every single exercise that we're doing here. So if you want to, you can watch someone else as well. Just type in overhead tricep extension on a cable, and then watch a YouTube video of it from someone else. Some other people might have better tips than me. All right, here we go. Back into triceps. Definitely a better weight. Okay. If anything, that's actually a little light for those 10 reps, but I'd rather it be light today. Okay, so one more set on each. So just resting 30 seconds or so, and then that will pretty much be spot on 45 minutes, give or take, for a session. So maybe, an hour if you're someone who likes to do a 15-minute warm-up. I myself am very bad and I don't do a lot of warm-ups. I tend to just, whatever exercise I'm doing, unless it's legs, I warm up my legs a lot. But if it's upper body, let's say I'm doing bench press, I'll just do what you saw. I'll do a few warm-up sets there and then go straight into it. So, but that works for me. But you might have injuries that you need to sort of iron out before you go into a session. And I'll set it here. Again, same control on the way down, driving up. Now, as it's your last set, hopefully you feel like you can push for those extra reps and really push close to failure. Even if that means that you can't get all the way up, you can do partial range of motion. So let's say right now I'm pretty tired. I can do partial range of motion, so I'm just coming up like halfway to finish off, even less, just for a couple reps. Just to burn yourself out a little bit, but you don't have to do that. It's just a little bonus. You can sometimes overcomplicate training. It doesn't have to be super complicated. This is a fairly simple session taking you through, but simple yet effective. I think people overcomplicate things sometimes by making sure that every exercise is the perfect exercise to hit 100% of the muscle, and you've got to be in the perfect stretch. But we want the technique to be right, and it is better to work through a full range of motion. But as long as you're working hard, that's all we can really ask for. You'll see progress that way. So don't have to overcomplicate things. You don't have to worry about doing crazy amounts of drop sets or like full circuit training to get more in. It's just sometimes unnecessary. Just choose a few basic exercises and progress in those every week. Just do a last set of tricep extensions. But you can do the same thing as you get close to the end here. So let's say you get to your 8th rep. I'm on 5 now. You get to your 8th rep, then you can do a couple partial range of motion reps. So let's say here, I just want to go halfway, come back down, halfway, back down, halfway, back down, and then finish there. Okay, there you go. That is an upper body workout for you. Should only take you about 45 minutes. You can cut it down to about 30 if you're resting less, or if you have more time, you can rest for a bit longer and make it like an hour. But hopefully that helps. Hopefully you can follow along, and make sure you just work hard each week. Good luck, guys.